And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Alix Steel, taking you through the closing bell. It's a global simulcast. Starting right now with Scarlet Fu joining us in the TV studio. Tim Stenovic and Carol Masser are on assignment, filling in today. The incomparable David Gura and the wonderful Jess Menton. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, television, radio, and our partnership with YouTube. On a day, guys, where we're seeing the S&P 500 set yet another record high, a whopping gain on the day of 0.1%.
Yeah, just astonishing. I mean, I think we're heading here for the 36th record day here on Wall Street. So the swell continues to rise here on Wall Street, and just struck here again by the S&P sort of inching up higher and higher, Jess.
That's right. And of course, when we're talking about the pace of these records so far this year, if you look at the first half, at that point, at the end of June, there had been 31. Obviously, we're on track for 36 right now, but that was the best pace of all-time highs for the S&P 500, the second best this century behind 2021, obviously behind what had happened during COVID. But if you're looking at this, obviously things being driven here, looking at our IMAC function as well, but seeing things still in the growth technology things moving higher today.
You know, Jay Powell basically stuck to the script when he spoke to the Senate Banking Committee today. But you know how we always talk about how whether the Fed has a third mandate, and that is the S&P 500. The stock market is at a record high once again. Does that complicate the matter at all when they have to decide on interest rate cuts? Does that become an issue?
Oh, man, not that again. A record high in the equity market. David Gura, have you missed talking markets? Is this a special moment for you?
It's a pleasure to be here.
Where you get to talk about record highs again?
It's great to see you.
We're happy to have you.
All right, 55.77 right now on the S&P 500 as we get the closing bells here in New York. I know Jess was counting. Alex always counts. Should these numbers hold, this would be the 36th record high. That's right, Alex?
36.
For the S&P 500 for point gain on the day, roughly about 0.1%. It takes a while for these numbers to settle, but unless something flips dramatically here, we are going to get that record high on the day. The NASDAQ also higher as well for another record high, 25 points higher, or about 0.1% as well. Meanwhile, the cyclical stocks not doing much of anything today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 0.1%. The Russell 2000 down about 0.5. And we should point out Dow Transports as a group down more than 1% on the day, Jess.
That's right, Romaine. So let's get a check on the daily. Advancers versus decliners, 46% rising, or about 229 stocks. If you look over at the decliners, though, 54%, or about 273, Scarlet.
Oh, that is interesting, because if you look at the IMAP, which breaks down the S&P 500 into 11 industry groups, 7 of those groups are in the green and only 4 are in the red. Financials leading the way, up by 2/3%, as Jay Powell made some comments that suggested the Federal Reserve will water down the capital rules proposals that have been put out there. Healthcare up about 0.4%. Utilities also marginally higher. Your decliners, materials, energy, and industrials.
That's right. So let's get a check here looking at some of the top gainers today. Of course, Tesla, TSLA, is the ticker symbol on this. If you look at that winning streak, they're actually moving to a 10th consecutive day here. If you look at this, gaining almost 4%. That actually was its best day in about a week since July 3rd here. So the back of this, you have Morgan Stanley sticking with its overweight rating on Tesla. So did note that the company shares of the global battery EV market in May was about 15%. You also, if you want to look at what's happening with some of its peers, though, if you look at Lucid, though, down a little bit over 2%, so worst day since June 28th. And then Nikola, if you look at that NKLA, though, that stock actually down about 7%. Its worst day since July 1st, though. So a little bit of a different story when you're looking at some of its peers. I want to move over, though, and look at U.S.-listed ADR shares of Sony, up about 4.4%. Best day since May 14th here. So, of course, that does come after Paramount Global's parent company, National Amusements, and Skydance Media did agree to that merger. And then lastly, looking at Corning, GLW is the ticker symbol on this, up about 3.8%, its best day since July 8th. So that does come after the company did report preliminary core sales for the second quarter of about $3.6 billion, ahead of estimates of about $3.4 billion. David.
I thought about my decliners today as I ate a sad desk salad. I hit up Sweetgreen today. That's a company that we saw fall quite a bit today. And I think, as I look at this in complement with another stock that I picked, that being Kava, maybe a trend here is that given the macroeconomic environment, people are less willing, I'm not yet in this camp, to go and spend $16 on a salad at Sweetgreen. But we did see both of those stocks lower today. And the third one that I wanted to flag is Helen of Troy, of course, the beauty products company. There was this expectation going into today that the outlook wasn't going to be great. suffice to say, is much less great than people thought it was going to be. So we saw a sharp decline in that stock price as well, guys.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Sharp decline there. I should point out, guys, I can get my salad for $10. I have said this, but you probably paid, what, $20 for your sweet green?
Too much.
If that.
I'm ashamed to say. I won't admit it.
Yeah, no, mine's $10. I'm just saying.
Wait, what do you get? What do you?
Yeah, I got an egg and I got kidney beans.
Huh.
That's protein. All right, let's get to yields, guys, because that did sort of move, and I say sort of move because you saw some intraday moves within the bond market, but overall it was kind of a snoozer. The back end, a little bit of a sell-off, yields higher. You had a 3-year auction that had some nice solid takedown. We also get 10-year tomorrow and 30-year tomorrow as well, but it seems like we're doing okay with these auctions. The question then becomes, in terms of a steepener, do we finally get that steepener we've been waiting for? And is it the back end, those yields coming up, or is it the front end and those yields coming down if we price in a more aggressive Fed? That really feels to be the question in fixed income, guys.
Hey, something that Scarlett actually had pointed out that was in the Wall Street Journal earlier today. If you look at this, exclusive Ivy League social clubs are desperate for members. Not sure about, I did go to an Ivy League school. I went to a state school in Texas. But if you look at this Princeton club in New York City, losing members and bleeding cash before closing its doors in October 2021. So remaining members are exploring sort of this last-ditch overhaul to this 6-decade-old property that served as the Ivy League school alumni, but kind of want to get your thoughts on this dynamic in this story.
Well, look, I have not seen my friend Scarlet Fu at the Cornell Club outside of Grand Central Station, but I welcome her there anytime. I had a membership, I'll admit that, right when I graduated. It was extremely cheap. I have not renewed that.
Oh, so you had the starter rate, right?
I had the starter rate. I blanched when they said that it would be more after that, but maybe we can join together, Scarlett.
They need to upgrade their programming. I think that's the problem. You have a lot of old timers there who go there and they can stay there overnight if they need a hotel, and then they hold events sometimes. I know, David, you've moderated discussions over at the Cornell Club, but beyond that, they're finding it really difficult to attract younger people, Gen Z, for instance, to go to the Cornell Club.
Younger people like ourselves, we should say.
Well, are we Gen Z?
No, I think you're like the prime target for these clubs here.
Definitely not.
And they are a little stuffy. I mean, I've never been invited to the Cornell Club, but I've been in the Princeton Club,
David
in the
Gura
Harvard
with
Club.
his starter.
I know. I got to get, or you, Scarlett. I mean, come on, step your game up here.
Does Northwestern have a club?
No.
We don't, right? We went to the same school, but clearly there's no club.
I think we have like a park bench or something like meet out here. Another story that actually I wasn't keeping my eye on. I don't know if it was you, Alex, or our senior producer who brought this up. Apparently, this is about rich people freezing themselves with the idea of being reanimated at some point in the future. Not necessarily a new concept, but it's kind of taken on a whole new level as of late here, as people have really started to try to game the system in a way that I guess assures not just their reanimation, but also their wealth.
Well, that's the thing. It's not just that they're going to be frozen. It's that they're now looking at revival trusts. So this is like an emerging area of law that was built on lots of different things. And basically, you can freeze yourself, put some money aside, so when you wake up, however many years later, you'll have money. So many questions, guys, like, will money be a thing? Can you still use it? Where does it sit? Can you access it? Is there a bank? Do you use your phone? Are there still phones? Like, I don't know how this plays out.
I feel you describing this, and I feel much less bad about the sad desk salad that I had that cost $20 if people are spending money on this, but maybe they are. I don't know.
Well, you spent money on the here and now, right? You're not spending money to create a trust that may or may not exist because we don't know what things will look like in 100 years.
I have a dumb question, and forgive me, but when they freeze these people, are they dead first, or do they have to do it when they're alive?
No, that's actually a question. Are you dead if your body is actually preserved? I actually don't know if we have that answer. Like, that is a legitimate question.
David Gura.
I think we need a philosophy teacher here.
These are the details that we need to know.
I don't think you're dead.
It's a fascinating conversation. I feel like this is what happens when we're waiting on earnings season to start pretty soon. But
what? No, this is hard-hitting journalism. What are you talking about?
Can't come soon enough, Jess.
Anyway, I think this is definitely a question. Also, will money live infinitely? That's like a really big thinker too, guys. Can it?
I was excited to talk markets, and now we're talking like deep philosophy.
Right? I know, this is a lot.
Yeah.
I think we should leave it here. This is a good place to leave it, right?
It's a social construct.
Right, that's just it for our cross-platform coverage.
David.
We're going to have more coming up on the Market Close on Bloomberg Television,
what is that?
Radio, and YouTube. All these questions that cannot be answered.
Or do you put the money in Bitcoin while you're frozen? Is this the way?
Will Bitcoin still be existent?
Yeah, to speed this up, Scarlett. You're Carol Massar now. The long goodbyes.
A reminder that Bloomberg Business Week is now on Bloomberg Originals. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time and same place.